Okay, we had a pretty light day on the scanner. Rippy didn't do any calls, and the scanner wasn't picking up all the calls. So I just covered the larger files, and I didn't post any of the torture calls, block route calls, mechanical problems. I left all those out. The torture calls, I like to post those because it's death by 1,000 cuts for the Trimet operators on that. Like the doors, they just can't make buses with doors that work. Or the head signs. Those head signs, I was working there when they introduced the automatic signs, and they never worked when I was there, and that's over 10 years ago. So they've had more than a decade to fix that, and they have not fixed it. The geniuses running your transit system can't fix the head signs, and they can't fix the doors, and they can't fix the seat alarms, among 1,000 other fucking aggravations that bus drivers have to put up with. They're so busy with capital projects that they just completely ignore the day-to-day stuff, and it's just a damn shame as far as I'm concerned that this is allowed to go on unimpeded. Nobody questions anything. The media is no longer the media. The media is now completely a propaganda tool for the elites. And speaking of propaganda, I want to look at this Sammy behind the wheel because it's pretty funny and it's a pretty good example of the kind of shit they shovel down our throats here. Let's read this. As we celebrate Independence Day this weekend and the nation's birth, I keep thinking not of the word independence, but rather interdependence. Attaboy, Sam. We rely on each other day in and day out to get the job done, to support each other and the agency, to move people, provide our community with the best transit service we can. That means facing challenges head on and doing it with determination and teamwork. In the last year and a half, we've had a lot of opportunity to do that. This week's record-shattering high temperatures is just the latest. The extreme heat put a strain on our transit system, built for our normal extremes. Not the unprecedented temperatures we experienced, but when I made the difficult but necessary, so the Fuhrer of Trimet, Mr. Sammy DeSue Jr., he made the decision to shut down. When I made the decision, difficult but necessary decision Sunday evening to suspend MAX service for safety's sake, our team stepped up to help our riders and colleagues. Oh my God, this is through communication and coordination, our people across the agency showed up for each other and the community we serve. In each and every division and department, I'm so impressed how the employees overcame the challenge we faced and worked together. It's pretty funny, I got to tell you. Among the many, many efforts that made me proud to lead this agency, listen to this. Field supervisor worked together like clockwork. Sweeping MAX platforms for riders who didn't get the message of the shutdown. Yeah, they did do that, but it wasn't clockwork. Okay, they did do it, but thousands of people were unaware the MAX was shut down. So, customer service, our communications and customer service teams kept riders and the public informed. Yeah, sure, that's a good one. Customer service answered riders' calls for help and gave them directions to regular bus service. Transportation facilities and other departments brought in fans, water, and cold drinks. Kept an eye for each other, making sure people were taking breaks as needed. Teamwork saved the day during the recent MAX Blue Line project improvement. What is this doing in here? During the recent MAX Blue Line improvements, we put lots of planning into the project, as we always do, as we approach the May 15th to 23rd disruption. I have to admit, I was a little nervous about the number of shuttle bus runs that were unfilled, but the Trimet team stepped up. Our station agents worked their magic, keeping an eye on the extra board with talking to operators to get dozens of runs filled during operators' regular days off. Of course, they won't They refuse to hire enough operators to deal with these disruptions. They have to count on the ones that are there to work extra, which is a failure of public policy, because it means it's unknown whether runs get filled, and the amount of runs that were canceled was unbelievable. I appreciate the organizational skills of our station agents, and I want to thank all the operators whose flexibility and willingness to take these runs meant we were better able to meet our riders' needs. I am so grateful that no matter what we face, we do it together with dedication and cooperation. Jesus Christ. So this weekend, as we collectively reflect on our nation's independence and freedom, we hope of the end of the pandemic will come soon. I celebrate you and our interdependence. Take care of yourself. Now, that's a perfect example of how the elites will spin a disaster into something that was good, right? Look at what a great job we did, right? It was an unmitigated disaster. It was horrible. But this is a nice spin he's done here. It's very good, well-written propaganda. And I know that the people doing the work did the best they could. I'm given with what they have. And the fact of the matter is that the light rail is just a very unreliable system. When you need it the most, it's not there. And this has happened since I've been associated with the agency as a professional and as a hobbyist. The same thing year after year. The light rail is not reliable, and it never will be. It's not built for reliability. And they don't have any backup for when it breaks. And hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people are stranded. And now we find out 50 people died of the heat because, our leaders are morally bankrupt, sociopaths, and didn't do anything to help them. And our public is brain dead. They don't care. The 80% of us that are didn't really face any disasters during this whole COVID baloney. And believe me, it was baloney. We don't realize that a lot of people really got fucked during this last year, and they are out on the streets dying. And there's no media coverage of it. It's completely blanked out. There's 20% of our population is literally dying in the street. And there's no coverage about it at all. And you want to hear how fucked up our world is, just listen to our scanner tweets. It's all right there. You can witness the collapse of civilization just by listening to the Trimet scanner. Something you'll never hear in the media. They won't ever cover it. Everything's fine, right? The stock market, all new highs. Every day it's a new high, a new high, a new high. People with money are doing better than ever. And all the ones that are left behind, oh well, they don't count. And then there's all the people in the third world that are starving. They don't count either. So anyway, let's go back to this farce.
Our consent agenda, and I think this is the media's consent agenda we've ever seen. I think they just wanted me to do this on my last meeting, I think. So what I see is we have, if my math is right, or
so they're gonna, I have this posted on my blog, all this pork barrel shit that they still haven't deleted our comments. I can't believe it. Trimet has always deleted. They didn't do it. I gotta hand it to them. They left it right up there, man. Good for you. You're gonna have to like you guys if you keep this shit up. And also, we had that nice little. Let me just interrupt. We had that nice little exchange with Ozzy on the Twitter. Kudos to him for engaging with us. He's the only Trimet elite that's ever done that, paid or unpaid. And I consider the board a Trimet elite. So I give him credit for that. I think I don't know. It's hard to read Ozzy. But, I like him just because of the way he is willing to get into the, what do you call it, the cesspool. The people, the cesspool as and that's really how the elites think of the public, as less than, we're like in a cesspool. Their whole aim is to keep us under control. It's not to give us what we need or want, but to keep us under control.
items on the consent agenda, and the items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and may be approved by the board in one blanket motion. However, any board member may remove an item from the consent portion of the agenda for discussion or questions by requesting such prior to the consideration of this portion of the agenda. And so I'll point out for anybody watching it, what you see here is we have the approval of the board meeting minutes for May 26th. We have a resolution which is authorizing additional contract authority for Parametrics, Inc. for design services as part of the MAX red line extension and reliability improvements.
Yeah, this is all pork barrel nothing. All of these pork barrels, you see how the MAX is completely unreliable. All the millions they spent on so-called reliability are wasted. Let's just be honest. This is elites stealing the tax money via capital projects. Okay, that's how this happens in every level of the capital projects is how the elites get your money. Even Donald Trump's wall, he doesn't give a shit about the Mexicans. But the wall, there's billions of dollars of capital projects that can be stolen. Every capital project that's done by these elites here makes money for the elites. You know, they do not care about anything else except the money flow to the elites. That's why your service is such shit, and that's why there's no backup service, because that would mean the elites would get less money, and they won't have that. You know, the elites are running everything now, and I hope people really understand that. Hold on, I have to check.
Project. We have a resolution which is authorizing the exercise of options to a contract with Siemens Mobility for the purchase of additional light rail vehicles for the MAX Red Line Extension and Reliability Project. And then a resolution authorizing a modification to a contract with AECOM Technical Services for construction management and safety/security services for the Division Transit Project. A resolution authorizing a contract modification with NAHA, that's how it's pronounced, for specialized staff augmentation services. And then finally, a resolution authorizing a modification of a contract with Stellar J Corporation for Ruby Junction shop modifications projects. So there's a lot there. So is there any item on the consent agenda that a board member would like to have removed for individual consideration, or has questions that we might be able to answer before motions made to approve the consent agenda? Yes, Director Gonzalez.
Thank you so much, President Warner. Yes, I have a question, just procedural, really, for the sake of the board and the public. With so many resolutions on the agenda that are not on the consent agenda, it looks to me like there was some discernment made as to what resolutions would appear on the consent agenda and which were not. And it looks like, for the most part, they are extensions of existing contracts of other service types. Could General Manager Dessou, could you just please articulate what it was that discerned what would go on the consent agenda versus what?
Yes. Now, see, that's an excellent question, Ozzy. That's excellent. See, there's hope for Ozzy, I think. I think there's hope for this guy. He seems to be the most open person on the board right now in terms of, like, he's actually asking some questions, and he's actually out in the cesspool. There's hope for him.
Meeting?
That's a great question. Here.
Yes, I want to bring in very quickly General Counsel, because we were having conversation. So is General Counsel...
I mean, that's a fantastic question, because you see this here. They just want a consent agenda, all of this. And there's like millions and millions, it's like $100 million in here or something. I mean, I don't remember. Yeah, it's millions and millions and millions of dollars in here. And they're just going to say, they're just lumping it all together and they're not going to discuss it. So he's asking, how do you even decide what's lumped in here that's not going to be discussed? So let's hear the answer.
Shelley, are you there to talk?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Sam. And thanks for the question, Director Gonzalez, because we would like to clarify, yes, that's exactly what happened. So historically, we've usually, pre-pandemic, put routine modifications to contracts on our consent agenda so that the board doesn't have to take up a lot of time revisiting those. We're happy to answer any questions about any of those, but that was the distinction. So what you're seeing here are contracts that are being authorized to exercise options or modify of an existing contract that the board has already acted on at a prior.
Yeah, these are the things that should be talked about because this is standard operating procedure. I've seen this a million times by now, where they make a contract, but the contractor can come back anytime they want for more money, and they get it without question. And that's like in opposite of like the $2.50 they want to collect from you. If you don't pay it, it's a whole fucking big deal. Okay, but here on the other side, on the elite side, we want more money. You get it automatically. Just have to ask for it. This is what the society we're living in here. This double society, a society for the elites and then the society for the rest of us. They're two separate worlds. No connection whatsoever.
Board meeting, and then the resolutions that have gone on the regular resolution agenda are those that are first time coming before the board. So thank you.
And my opinion on this is anything $1 million or more should be discussed. Okay, anything that's $1 million or more should be discussed by the board, and this guy here should explain why they want more money.
So did you get your question answered?
Oh, yes, I did. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Are there any other items?
Yeah, come on, Ozzy. Jeez. You started good and then you just caved, just like you always do, and all the rest of you do. You put out some good stuff and then you just let it go through, and you never push it, man. You never push it.
Any member of the board would like to have answered about an item on a consent agenda or have polled? Well, hearing none, then.
I should really do a post just about Bruce Warner and his time as a board president, because those of you who are new don't remember the shit that McFarland really put us through, and this guy here backed him up all the way. He was a real horrible. Oh man, he was horrible, man. He was just horrible. He was completely anti-union, 100% pro-union busting director, president of the board.
Is there a resolution to approve the consent agenda as presented?
And I, for one, I'm looking forward to not having to listen to him anymore. Just like when Travis left, thank God. It's like, I'm tired of listening to you people. Go find something else to do. Travis is now mayor of Gresham by 12 votes, and good. You have him over there in Gresham, okay? Good luck with him.
So moved, Linda.
Is there a second?
Second, Laverne.
Yeah, so they just...
Direct further discussion on the consent agenda items or that motion? Hearing none, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
So they've approved hundreds of millions of dollars here without even a discussion. This is what Trimet is really doing here. Okay, this is what's really Trimet's purpose. It's not the transportation system. It's capital projects.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. And I got a note from Director Wade who said she'll be here about 10:30. So I've got to go from 10:30 to 11:30 is when I would like to make sure we do the resolution regarding adopting an employment contract with our new general.
Why bother? We already know that's automatic. We already know that's an automatic thing. You should put that on the consent agenda too. Okay.
Manager. So with that, I'd like to then, if I could, just go down to the second resolution under the resolutions portion of the agenda, which is resolution 21-06-34, which is adopting the fiscal year 2022 annual budget and appropriating funds.
And I'd like to point out that the budget is $58 million higher than last year's budget, and that's counting the first they had the bus service reduced 20%, and then they modified it to 10%. So they've cut the bus service. Let's see, it's $600 million. So 20% would be 60 60, 120. So they cut like $200 million out of the bus operating service, but the budget is $85 million higher. So that's what I would ask. Why is your budget higher when you've cut your operating budget by so much? But they're not going to ask that because they're puppets.
Mr. General Manager, return over to you or Dee to discuss this item.
So thanks, President Moore.
So look at that budget, man. Look at this. Stop.
So,
$1,919,189 and 30. No, 1,000,000,000. Let me. Oh shit! I can't see it now. It's 1,998,189. It's a lot. Okay, let me get a screenshot of that.
the budget is based around priorities that staff work with the board to develop. Those priorities are ridership and recovery strategies,
I need to see it.
reimagine safety and security, added value to customers across the region, the implementation of our IT strategic plan, enhancing equity for employees,
Yeah,
and
baloney.
then resource management,
Bunch of baloney.
financial resilience, and also our capital programs. So we
the hell's going
have
on?
conducted outreach with the community and developed a budget, included public listening sessions in English and in Spanish.
Yeah, like that,
We
man.
conducted public hearings
Look at that.
and solicited feedback online as well as by phone. The budget.
So Trimet has a $2 billion budget. $2 billion budget. And they cut service. Does that click for anybody? Does it click it? What a criminal operation this is here? It clicks for me, but, you know, I'm a nobody.
It considers the effects of COVID-19 pandemic and reductions in fare revenue and payroll taxes. Since the board approved the FY22 budget, our finance and budgeting team have made some additional adjustments. And this as the financial picture for next fiscal year came in closer view. Among those adjustments, I would like to just call out a few. And a positive sign, revenue projected from payroll taxes has increased. More help from the federal government is expected, with nearly $150 million in COVID-19 related to grant
Money printed out of thin air, by the way.
funds available. And then finally, our passenger fare revenue has been reduced based on the most current projections. Some adjustments that were made to account for the new working and wage agreement between Trimet and the ATU 757. This is an agreement that was overwhelmingly approved by Trimet.
They're all overwhelmingly approved, okay? First of all, only 37% of the union members even bother to vote, which shows you what union members think of it all. So overwhelmingly approved means it's a lie. Nobody even bothered to participate.
It's union employees who voted on it. It included a wage increase, maintenance of health benefits, and an increase in short-term disability benefits, among other agreements.
Yeah, from 150 a week to what? 200? It was the short-term disability is a joke anyway. You can't live on it. I've talked to Henry Beasley about this, and you know the contract wasn't good for the employees. It just wasn't. I'm sorry. If you want to find out why and you work there, talk to Henry Beasley. He's on Facebook. You can always contact him on Facebook.
The adopted budget reflects the increases required by the agreement. It is important also to point out that the budget still does not include a fare increase for this fiscal year.
And let's get this straight. Let's talk about this for a minute because they're always bragging about this. Let's talk about this because in 2000, I forgot when it was. It might have been 2008. In 2008, there was multiple fare categories: short hopper, 2-zone, and all zone. Short hopper tickets were 85 cents. 2-zone was I believe it was $1.50, and all zones were $2.10. So what happened was, I don't remember if it was 2008 or later, but what happened was McFarland, being the ruthless fascist he was, what he did was he eliminated all the lower fare. All those lower fares were thrown out. There's no more short hopper, no more two zone, and made everybody pay $2.50. They decided to raise it at that time. They made the system all one zone, and they brought it up, the fare up to $2.50, which at the time was one of the highest in the country. So while they're talking about no fare increases in 9 years, it was already at the high 9 years ago. Now, I'm not sure how that stacks up today. And I'll look it up while he's talking here.
The 9th straight year adult fare has not gone up. The total value of the budget, including operations, capital, operating projects, and other non-operating expenses, contingency and fund balance is $1.9 billion. The adopted budget must be in place by July 1st to allow spending in the new fiscal year. Your approval is recommended. With me today is...
All right. U.S. average passenger fares in 2019 was $1.60. Okay, and I'm looking at Statista.com. Okay, they have figures for all the transit agencies in the country. And in 2019, the average was $1.60. So Trimet is $2.50. That's in 2019. So there you go. So they're still over the average as far as I can tell, and that's from a Statista.
Executive Director Dee Brookshire, and also Director Nancy Young Oliver, to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. So with that in mind, I think what you just heard is the board has the authority and the responsibility to consider approval of Trimet's budget for next fiscal year, because they can't operate after July 1st without us adopting a budget this month. And I think we've had a chance to review this document in a lot of detail over the past few months. And again, it has changed.
All right, I'm looking at another website here. Let's look at this. This is Value Penguin, whoever the hell they are. But here's the average fares. This is average monthly pass. Washington, D.C., $81. San Francisco, $91. Boston, $84. Baltimore, $68. Seattle, $99. Chicago, $100. Philadelphia, $91. Miami, Fort Lauderdale, 100. New York is 121, and LA is 122. So, and Trimet is 100. So they're not exactly cheap, and they're not like New York. And well, New York is a completely different system than Trimet. You can't even compare those two. But in terms of, okay, so they're charging the same as Seattle right now. Okay, so they're not losing anything
on some of the refinements of the revenues and expenditures, as you pointed out. I would just ask if Director Dee Brooks or Nancy Young have any questions or any comments, further comments, before I ask the board for a motion, and then we can see if they have any further questions.
I should look at that budget
So
more
Dee,
closely.
Nancy, do you have anything you want to add?
Well, thank you, President Warner. We just wanted to let you know that as we discussed this morning in the Finance and Audit Committee, the changes have been vetted thoroughly, and we believe this is a fair representation of what we'll need going forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
1.9 billion.
Well,
I
we have
would
a
think
motion
so.
on the table. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
You can't make it on 1 point.
Budget?
So moved.
Is there a motion? Is there a second?
Lori, second.
I'll give that second to Lori. So it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion, further discussion on the budget or this motion by the board? Hearing none, I'm then going to call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor of the motion to approve Resolution 21-06-34, which is adopting the fiscal year 2022 annual budget and appropriate funds, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next resolution, which is Resolution 21-06-35, which is authorizing a contract modification with Stacy and Whitbeck.
Yeah.
For construction manager.
This was a good one, man. This was a good one. The original contract was like $500,000, and this one is like $100 million or something.
Your services for the Max red line extension and reliability.
The red line, this is completely useless crap. The executive staff made it up. They're like, let's see, what can we do? We need to spend some money on capital projects. Okay, let's come up with this. A red line reliability project. That's a good one.
Project. Mr. General Manager.
Well, where is it? Let's see it.
All right. All right. Thank you, President Warner, Board. The purpose of this resolution.
Okay, this is Stacy and Whitbeck, the #1 capital projects crony of Trimet. This is $138 million, 139, rounded up, for the red line boondoggle. Completely wasteful, shouldn't be done. You should be spending all that money on more buses and trains, but nope, it's going to this.
To request a modification to the contract with Stacy and Whitbeck for construction manager, general contractor service for the Max Red Line Reliability Improvements Project. Pre-construction services are already...
Oh, see, now look at here. See, they have... So they can add... They have another $13 million. See, it says, here's the contract, 138, 139, and they can get... And they will definitely get this extra $14 million. So that, they pretend like, okay, we're going to do this job for $138 million. But there's another $14 million in there. And they're going to get it, believe me. It's such a scam. It's such a scam.
In progress. However, the final agreement on the Federal Transit Administration on project value was postponed until the total contract price is negotiated with the contractor. The total additional contract authority requested today is $152 million.
Oh, it's not, did you hear that? It's not even 138, 39. They want 152 million. They're changing it from the written, from this. They want more than 138. They want 100. Maybe they want the whole thing at once, but I bet you they still have that 10% in there on top of their 158 million. What a waste of money.
This accounts for the pre-construction services.
Pre-construction services, whatever that is. See, this is the engineering class, the capital project class, people sitting behind desks drawing up blueprints. It's such a scam. I can't believe the citizens put up with this.
Construction services and the change order allowances for the project. It is included in the FY22 through FY24 capital program budget. Stacy and Whitbeck workforce is 48% minority, 8% female. The company has committed to using DBE firms for approximately 20% of the work. Your approval of this resolution is recommended. We have with us today Executive Director Steve Witter and Paige to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gerrymeister. Why don't we see if we can get a motion on the table and get it seconded, and we'll ask for any questions.
Oh, yeah, just approve it. Just get a motion on the table and just pass it. What's 188 million? Who cares?
A motion to approve Resolution 21-06-35.
So moved, Linda.
Is there a second?
Of course there is.
Second. Was that you, Keith?
Yes.
Okay. With that, we have a motion and a second. So I suspect there may be some questions on this. Is there questions or comments that Director Witter would like to make, or comments and questions by the board?
Yeah, I have a question. I understand that contract modification was expected here as part of the process of this project as we resolve some of the details of the project as well as the federal funding. But as far as the modification is concerned, can you speak to whether this modification was as expected? Has the market significantly changed?
See, he's asking good questions. This is the second good question in a row. Okay, let's see is it going to result in anything, or
from earlier expectations, just to get a sense of kind of where we landed.
Yeah, good for you. That's a good question. Let's hear it.
Director Gonzalez, thank you for your question. I really wanted to take this opportunity to introduce and thank Paige Schloop, our project director, for her leadership on getting us to this point.
Oh, here we go.
I don't know, Paige.
Everybody's great. Yes, you're great. You're great. He's great.
To address that, I'm happy either way.
Either way here. So I'm wondering, Director Gonzalez, if your question is going towards COVID-19 and any of that, how that may have impacted the...
No, he's asking you why. Don't start. Just answer the question. Why has it changed?
The economy and the construction costs, or if it's...
Certainly, I'm well aware of how construction costs have escalated in other markets. The affordable housing market's been hit hard by the cost in lumber. But I wonder if this project has been similarly impacted because of market forces.
It just amazes me how easy they just come up with the extra money for shit like this without any problem. Here's the extra money right here. We want to add another $100 million here. It's right here. Take it.
No, COVID-19 was in part to blame for the lumber part. Have we seen similar things? Have you seen cost escalations? Are we way off where we thought we would be a year ago?
Yeah, I think that, so as part of this project, we did do a market study.
Oh, no.
In advance of our negotiations to kind of get a sense
market
of some
study,
backup,
not another one.
Information to under.
Let me make this clear. This project should have never been started. This was the Trimet elites, the executive elites coming up with they came up with this themselves with no public input. We're going to do this better red, and here it is, everybody. And now we're going to send our marketing team out there to tell you how great it is. And there was no public input into this. There's no public input into anything that goes on there, okay? This stuff is just pumped out by this executive class. This is the biggest waste of money since division pork barrel.
Understand that, and you're right. A lot of things are going up, and lumber is one of those.
What lumber? What lumber do you need on a fucking railroad? You mean the fucking ties? Jesus.
Fortunately, we're not a lumber-heavy project, but
yeah, no shit.
I feel like we're lucky in that we got in the front end of it before things were really starting to take off. I will be saying in the last month or two, there's been some nail biting about steel pricings, just jumping, and so we're very pleased to be able.
This project should have been canceled, along with all the other capital projects. But once again, I'm going to keep hammering this point in. We are ruled by a cult of psychopaths.
To get this in place at the time we have and get that.
Nobody needs this. Nobody. It helps nobody.
Purchase going for the steel. Other items were PVC, plastics, and concrete, weirdly enough. So basically, a lot of stuff is going up, but we're very happy that we're getting in before it really starts.
Yeah, right.
Getting those prices locked in.
Yeah, right. What a bargain you're getting, Trimet. What a bargain. Let's see, $152 million for something that nobody needs.
Does that answer your question?
No.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't answer his question. No.
We have you on mute.
I was talking to myself. I see. No, thank you. That helps getting some context on how the market is impacted.
No, you got nothing. You got nothing. You got nothing, Ozzy. Some fucking vague.
Other questions by the board?
Nothing.
I'm hearing none. Is the board ready to approve?
Yeah, of course. I said, well, who cares about $152 million?
All those in favor of the motion to approve Resolution 21-06-35, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nobody.
Any abstentions? The motion is approved unanimously.
Yep.
Thank you
Okay.
very
Go
much.
buy 158 million.
With that, I
Goodbye.
see Director Way has made it onto our meetings. Thank you. I'm glad you're here.
All right. Well, I'm going to cut it at this point because I really get pissed off when I see this kind of shit happen in front of me. You know, a complete waste of money for something that will benefit nobody. While there's still 10% bus service cut, they still don't have enough bus operators, but yet they're doing this. And here's an extra 40 million for you just because you needed it. You know, I can't stomach it. Over and out.